What have the following three songs got in common? I am just a poor boy, though my story is seldom told. The Boxer, Simon and Garfunkel. I'm sure you guessed that. Streets of London, Ralph McTell. And that was a badly played version of Don't Think Twice Is Alright. But anyway, by Bob Dylan. What have they got in common? Well, I made it easy for you because you can see what I was doing down here maybe. It's all very similar. Similar but not the same. And the answer to the question is Travis picking. They all use Travis picking. These classic songs of that classic era, all roughly the same sort of era, late 60s, early 70s, no, late 60s basically, all of them. They'll use Travis picking, which is a brilliant, amazing way of using the guitar and getting a good rhythm without strumming chords. Okay, we're picking, but we're keeping a very tight rhythm going. By the way, what they've also got in common is they're all basically using shapes as if it's in the key of C, although they're not all in the key of C. Don't Think Twice Is Alright and Ralph McTell's Streets of London both have the capo on the 4th fret, or sometimes Streets of London he uses the 3rd fret, capo on the 3rd fret. And even the Boxer, he sometimes, well, on the original record they tune it down 1 fret, so it's not strictly speaking in the key of C. Well, it isn't, it's in the key of B. But they all use these same shapes, which makes this a very easy way of teaching you 3 classic songs in 1 lesson. Although that's a bit disingenuous to say I'm going to teach you them all in 1 lesson, because each of them require a whole lesson themselves, but there are very many points of similarity between them because they all use, as I say, Travis style, Travis picking. So let's show you what Travis picking is. The most important thing about it, and this is what creates the very solid rhythm, the pulse, is you do an alternating bass line on each chord. So let's say you're on the G chord. What you do, you go like this: 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and practice that with a metronome. Okay, E string, D string, E string, D string, E string, D string. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The E minor is exactly the same. And A minor and C are slightly different because they involve a slightly more complicated pattern where you go, that's fairly similar. You're on the C chord and you're playing A string, D string, but then you go to the low E string, and you normally do that. You play the G note, which is on the 3rd fret of the low E string, so you lift your finger up from where it is on the C chord, put it there, which makes it a C with a G in the bass, and you go. Sorry, I did that wrong, terribly sorry. So you go A string, D string, E string, D string, and I move my finger back. Now you can play a chord, a C chord like this, where you don't have to do the jumping backwards and forwards. You can just go A string, D string, E string, D string, A string, D string, E string, D string. And you do it in that way so that you always start on note 1, beat 1, with the root note, which is on the A string. So this takes a lot of practice. You need to do it with a metronome, very preferably, to keep you in time, and don't go too fast. Get it solid. And if you trip up, then, slow it down. But you've got to go. And count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the good news is that A minor chord is exactly the same pattern on the bass, so it's same strings. A string, D string, E string, D string, A, D, E, D, A, D, E, D. Now when you speed it up, it's a completely different thing, okay? I mean, at the moment, obviously we're just practicing. When you speed it up, it's going to be like this. But that is also not very impressive compared to the full picking, which we'll go into in a minute. Now, how do we do that? So what we're now going to do is we're going to add notes in between the on beats. The on beats are what you would call when you count 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bass, that's giving you your solid beat on the beat. The off beat is played with your fingers either on the G, B or high E strings, and you play them in between. So if you count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you go like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I played in between each note, like I say, either G, B or E string. Let's go for an easier chord, the G chord, where you just got 2 notes in the alternating bass pattern. Remember, that's E, D strings, E, D, E, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what I'm doing is with the first finger playing the G string in between, then play the thumb. So I'm going 1 and 2 and. Then I'm playing the B string. So I'm going 1 and 2 and. Then back to the E string for 3, 3 and. This time the G again, G again on the and. 3 and 4 on the D string again. 4. Now I did that E string because I wasn't holding down the chord wholly, so it should have sounded like this. So all in all, it doesn't matter what notes you play on the top 3 strings. When I say it doesn't matter, obviously certain records, certain songs will use very exact string choices. But in terms of practicing, you can practice either. That's doing the same all the way through. I'm just using these 2 strings in the in-between notes. Or I can go. I can add the top E string. And so on. But we'll go into that in a bit more detail when we look at various patterns, more patterns. But the basic idea is that you've got this solid thumb going on the bass notes, which you've got to practice on its own. Practice that with a metronome. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and slow it down if you need to, and then add the notes in between and slow it down even more so you don't trip up on that, and go 1. You start off with the 1, 2, 1, 3, 4 on the bass notes. 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then add 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as I say, don't worry too much about which notes you're doing with your fingers up here, because they'll all sound good. They're all part of the chord, as long as you don't do what I did and forget to finger the rest of the chord, because I was concentrating on the bass notes. I forgot that I should have been holding that third fret down. Having said that, you can, when you get a bit more intricate, you can change to different notes, and you can play the open E string and other notes which aren't in the chord. Okay, that's your G chord. Now, as I say, E minor, same pattern on the bass. So same thing with the right hand, with the fingers. Again, first finger on the G string, second finger on the B string, this finger, third finger on the high E string. And again, don't get too hung up on what is the correct note to play in between. For now, you can play anything. So starting off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to add 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And then we're going to go on to the A minor. The A minor's got the same thumb bass notes as C, and so it's a four-way pattern, a cycle of 4 different bass notes. But exactly the same as C. A string, D string, E string, D string. A, D, E, D. A, D, E, D. A, D, E, D. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the sort of pattern you can do with the A minor. It sounds beautiful. You go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and A and D and E and D and when you speed it up, you're going to hear the root note more clearly. What you're really hearing is this, but in between each bass note you got, and then in between each of them you got other notes. Notice when you speed it up, you can still, the main thing is you're getting a solid bass line, and what's in between is beautiful, very important, crucial to the sound, but it's kind of like, what's the word? It's like decoration. That keeps you in time, assuming you're doing that in time, which, as I said, you need to use a metronome when you practice for. Okay, I'm going to do one more chord, which is tricky, the trickiest chord to play because we use the thumb. And this is either D or D7, but with this note, 2nd fret, played with the thumb on the low E string, and the 2 notes are the same as the G chord and the E minor chord. It's the E, D, E, D string, C string, E string, D string, E string, D string. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to go with our notes in between now. Again, I'm just going to do what comes naturally. I'm not going to be particularly specific about what fingers and what strings I'm using on the treble notes. I'm just going to go for it. Do it slower. So, whenever you get stuck, go back to just the thumb, okay? If you trip over yourself, slow it down and go back to just the thumb. Build it up. Once you've got that going, then start to add other notes in between. And you don't have to add notes in between every thumb note. You can go like this. Start on the thumb. What you can do to practice, a really good way of practicing, is play the bass notes first, a few times, count a few bars, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Start adding. And then go back to just the bass. And all variations of that. The main thing is keep the thumb going. If you keep the thumb going in the right place, then you won't go wrong. And in the next video, I'm going to show you, I'm going to whittle it down a little bit and show you a few patterns which are a bit more specific. But before you do that, just practice this, as I say, with a metronome very preferably, and practice the thumb notes especially. Get that pulse going and just go over all your chords with the thumb first. Etc. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, as they say in the classics, and hit the subscription bell so that you can get to be notified about any other videos I put out. And hopefully, when you practice this, you'll be proficient enough. Don't think it's going to be overnight. Spend many hours on it. Okay, spend many hours practicing this until you got it solid with a metronome, and then report back to me in the next video, please. Thank you very much.